With the Carolina Panthers set to face off against the Denver Broncos, whom are coming off a huge victory on a Thursday night against a convincing win against the New Orleans Saints just a week and a half ago, the Carolina Panthers find themselves at a crossroads and possibly back at a beginning that they had almost 8 weeks earlier. But not only that, the roster is exceptionally different than it was from week one. Want to find out how different and how we match up? Stay tuned to find out on Growlin' and Prowlin'. Welcome back, Panther Nation. Thank you all so much for joining us for another edition of Growlin' and Prowlin'. I am the one and only Mr. CeeLo here. And guys, just when you think things can't get any worse, they undoubtedly do. As many of you heard, the Carolina Panthers have lost Andy Dalton due to a car accident, his thumb, of course. And now we've reverted back to Bryce Young. And the worst part about this is you're looking at the possibility that there is no Deontay. Well, there's already said there's no possibility that there's no Deontay Johnson. There's also no Adam Thielen, who's still on IR. And that kind of leaves us at a crossroads. And it leaves us with a lot of questions that need to be answered. One of the biggest questions, mind you, who's he going to throw to? And I just have a lot of questions. And hopefully they can be answered. But the biggest thing I have is whether or not the Carolina Panthers are going to put on a showing, or are they just going to give up against the opponent that we have this week, which is the Denver Broncos. Now, this is a football team that obliterated the New Orleans Saints on Thursday night. Now, granted, this was a shadow of what we're used to seeing with the New Orleans Saints. There was no Derek Carr. There was no Chris Olave. There was no Rashid Shaheed. So, and this is, I'm not for once saying that we can beat Denver head up, which I think we can. But ultimately, there's got to be some light at the end of the tunnel somewhere. It's just gotten to where it's just plumb embarrassing, guys. I mean, seriously. And Dave Canales is having the idea, well, it's almost like he's having the idea of, well, as long as he's not my quarterback or so on and so forth. It's like, you're not even, and I'm not saying he's not, but it's almost like he's not trying. It's like, here's the reality. If you're going to be a coach, sometimes things are not going to always go your way. Like, let's look at every situation. And I've said this on numerous shows, but I'm going to bring this up again because a lot of y'all are just giving up on Bryce. And a lot of this is not on him. Let's look at what he had in Seattle. Of course, he had Geno Smith, but he also had DK Metcalf, and he had Tyler Lockett. Now, here's the thing, guys, ladies and gentlemen. You have to have certain players in the system. Let's even go and look at what he had in Tampa. He had Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Where in the world do we have that on this roster? Who's our Mike Evans, for one? I mean, we got arguably two Chris Godwins and Tyler Lockett's. We ain't got a single Mike Evans or a DK Metcalf on this team. So, and this is where I look at Dan Morgan and I say to myself, what the did you get conned as well? Bruh. Damn you. Look, I'm not trying to be mean, but the reality of it is, guys, Dave Canales, if he's this guy that he says he is, and he's this guru that everybody just coveted, He should be able to do something with this offense. And he's going to get his chance tomorrow. He should get his opportunity to show the world he can do whatever he claims he can do. I don't see it because there's only been a handful of times I'm looking at the route trees that we're running and I'm like, that's a pretty darn good play. I like that one. Now, the Denver Broncos are not a good offense, so we can't walk into this game thinking, okay, we're doomed before we get here. I'm not saying that, but if Dave Canellis does not become a creative play caller, like he got the job that he claimed, there's nothing to talk about. He's just going to walk in there and do. To me, here's where the strength is. He's going to have to get creative with his run game and get creative off the passing game. Because you don't have Johnson. You don't have Adam Thielen. You got Mingo. And this is another thing. Everybody keeps forgetting about Mingo like he's just some forgotten entity out there. Mingo's a good player. And he needs to be utilized. But the reality of it is you can't, if you're not going to utilize him, what's the point in saying he's just not getting it done? He can't get it done unless you get it to him. And how many times have I said this on this show? If you don't set it up where he can get the football, how can he show you what he's got? I can't tell you how many times in that Washington game last week that we had not one single route go across the formation. Especially in man coverage. You cannot do anything if all you're going to do is eat up just certain areas of the field and leave the very middle of the field untouched. At some point, you got to know what you're doing. You got to know what this team's tendencies are. I question whether or not Canellis is watching enough film to know what needs to be done. Because it looks like last week, especially last week, it looked like last week every pass play we called, the Commanders were all over it. Looked like somebody watched film. Because it sure wasn't our offense. Looking ahead, we've got a few guys that are Jadeveon Clowney's possibly coming back. And, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about the offense because they're going to have to show up. They just need to show up. I'm not putting a lot on Bryce because ultimately this needs to be a game that Canellis needs to sit down and actually script from start to finish. Here's the reason why. He needs to write 3 different scripts for certain situations. Maybe more than that. And the reality of it is, I haven't watched any film. The only film I've watched on Denver is they do like to send surprise pressure. For the most part, they've got some really good secondary guys. They cover well, and they get pressure. But the reality of it is, that Bryce is going to have to use his legs some. And I think ultimately we're going to have to move the pocket some. I think the biggest weakness in Denver's defense is whether or not we're going to use the tight ends. If we can use the tight ends, and see, this is where I have a problem with Canellis. Canellis said we're going to use the tight end. We're going to run the ball. Neither one of these. And then you hear all the talk about Chuba Hubbard possibly going. We are dead last in sacks. The only team that has fewer sacks than us are the Atlanta Falcons. But they got a better offense. We've got some great guys on the back end. The problem we have, we just can't score any points. And then we can't get any pass rush. We have a relatively good group of guys in that secondary. People can sit there and say what they want. How many we done gave up deep ones? That's more on the guys that are up there in pass rush than it is the guys on the back end. Because I know a ton of teams that have way worse guys in the secondary. But the reason why their secondary hasn't been burned yet is because they have not been able to protect. We saw that Minnesota defense get tore up the other night. Reason being, they couldn't get any pass rush. Just saying, you guys. I don't. This is a game we can win. And I'm going to say it like this. If Canellis can get creative with his run game, I think we need to go double tight end, one receivers formations at times, maybe take those formations and spread them out, get Chuba Hubbard into space. I think we need to stop going with, we just going to line up. I don't understand why Canellis is not saying, okay, Our strength is not just lining up and letting the defense see what we're going to give them. You need to allow them to line up to see what they're giving you and then adjust accordingly. If that's not one thing I learned from watching Michigan last season, you line up one way and you change so that way you've got the defense off balanced. Because now it's getting to a point where teams see what you're going to do when you put them in motion. Okay, that shouldn't be the sign that, hey, they're in man coverage. That means we're looking to see what they're doing. Doesn't matter. You should already know. The only time I'm worried about whether or not you're in man coverage is inside the red zone, or if I'm on 3rd and 1 and I need to get a first down and I've called a pass play. It's the only time I care about being in man coverage. Rest of the time, you need to be dictating what the defense is doing. We need to speed up the tempo, Canellis. That's the number one problem Bryce is having. Have you not watched him at Alabama? As far as the game, like I said, if the defense can maintain, because I honestly believe Bo Nix is going to do exactly what he did against the Saints. He's going to try to run the football, throw the defense off balance. This is what I think Carolina needs to do with Bryce Young. They need to use his legs. His legs need to be used. Get him out of the pocket and let us stop forcing him into the pocket. He is not comfortable there yet. Give him some easy throws. Use the tight ends to chip the edges so he can get the edge, or maybe step up in between guard and tackle so he can get the throws down. Listen, we need to run a lot of post routes tomorrow. It's that simple. These little short dink and dunks ain't happening. And the only way you're going to scare Denver's defense is you're going to have to throw it down the field. We're going to need Xavier Legette and Jonathan Mingo to make some play. Even Jalen Coker with his speed. We're going to need these guys to make some huge plays. And the reality of it is, unless that happens, I don't see us winning this game. I mean, the reality of it is, Denver is not a high scoring offense. They went up against a Saints team that has been decimated on the offensive side with injuries, and it was just one of those games. It was just they ran 3, maybe 4 plays, and they gave it right back to them. Oh, I forgot, they were also missing Taysom Hill. So, I mean, their options on offense were so limited. I mean, you know, it's impossible to even fathom what they had to deal with. So you have to kind of step back a minute and really see what it was that these guys were working with. And it was not much. Jamie Robinson is going to be out tomorrow, as well as Dane Jackson. So Josie Jewell's listed as questionable, as well as Ashawn Robinson. So, yeah, there's still some things we're dealing with. And hopefully, like I said, Taylor Moton is questioned, as well as Tommy Tremble, so hopefully he'll play. But as we said, Bryce Young was named earlier in the week as the starter. If Canellis wants to show us what he's all about, he needs to coach, because we've all talked about Coach Avero stepping up. When is the heat going to be on Canellis' head? When? Because that was Andy Dalton that was playing last week. That's right. At some point, somebody needs to take the mirror and put it back on him. That's all I'm saying. But as far as the game goes, I'm hoping this will be different. But as of right now, I am going to go 17-13 Broncos. So it would be nice if it was 13-17, but I'm thinking it's going to be 17-13 Broncos way, you guys. I hope they surprise me, but I just don't see that happening. You guys have been quiet on the forefront lately in the groups, but I guess that's your way of responding. But, I mean, right now there's not a lot for us to cheer about. I'm hoping we blow up eventually. It'd be nice if we finished up the season with a winning regiment, but I don't know yet. Maybe Bryce has had a chance to, maybe he resurrects this game. I don't know. I'm not sold on Denver, but hey, you never know. But let me know what you guys think. We play late tomorrow in Denver, and hopefully we can come out and not be an embarrassment. I'm hoping we can come out and play better. And maybe Canellis is taking some heart to what myself and many of us believe he needs to coach. But as I said, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe down below. Also, if you subscribe, you guys, please put your name down there. I'm still working on the shirt. Yeah, I know. I'll be having a drawing in a couple of weeks. It may be at the end of the season. I don't know yet. But guys, make sure when you go to my Instagram and you click on my profile at Mr. CeeLo, make sure that you also leave me a like down there, please, so I know who you are. Also, go to the Facebook page over at Growlin' and Prowlin', and make sure you add yourself to the group and you can become a part of the family. But until the next time, keep prowling the airwaves and keep growling out. Keep pounding.